Welcome everybody to the special meeting and work session of the Town Board of the Town of Ossining for December 18, 2018. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilwoman Feldman?
Present.
Councilwoman Shaw?
Present.
Councilman Wiltshire?
Present.
Councilwoman Tory?
Present.
And Supervisor Levenberg?
Here. Okay, we're just going to start off with a few announcements and then our special meeting, and then we will follow that up with our work session items. We received some wonderful news today. The town was awarded $100,000 through the Regional Economic Development Consolidated Grant Application Process for Climate Smart Communities certification actions, and that means that we will be working on completing 2 Climate Smart Community certification actions, a comprehensive plan with sustainability elements, and a plan for bicycling and walking. The bicycling and walking plan will be a chapter in the comprehensive plan and will build on the very successful Millwood Ossining Go Trail Plan. We will be partnering once again with PACE Land Use Law Center as we work with them on the Complete Streets grant that we received through this process last year. So get ready to be engaged in some big picture thinking for how we can move our suburb into the next phase of suburbia. Congratulations and big thanks to Victoria Caffarelli, our grants guru, for all her hard work juggling these difficult state grants. Last Friday, I was asked to participate on a panel of municipalities that have either adopted or are near to adopting a solar code. I am hopeful we will be adopting ours later this evening. We had worked with the model code developed by NYSERDA and then tweaked it based on public input, and we just closed the public hearing last week, which we had held open for months to gather public input. I'm pleased to say we have prioritized making sustainable energy production a priority. Hopefully we can all move to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 50% in 2030, which is the goal Governor Cuomo established for New York State. Stay tuned for additional resolutions allowing us to collect payment in lieu of taxes on these land uses which otherwise are tax-free. This is something that I learned about at the workshop that I participated in. Today I participated in a conversation with Jerry Fiala, who led some of our riverfront community stakeholders in a conversation about the siting of anchorages in the Hudson River. Jerry has been involved in continuing discussions with the U.S. Coast Guard and the state. Our group came up with some excellent suggestions to take back to the working group for establishing guidelines and regulations, and is hopeful that they will be helpful moving forward for this issue. And I lost track of where I am since we lost a page, but I'll find it. The Village of Ossining has Ossining Bucks program in place to get people to shop locally, and they're partnering with the Greater Ossining Chamber of Commerce to do that, and that's in lieu of free meters because they found that that wasn't the best way to get people to actually park in front of the stores, and sometimes some of the employees were parking there all day instead. So this Ossining Bucks seems to be a better way. You can get Ossining Bucks in many of our village and town offices, including ours, and also in the clerk's office on the first floor, as well as the manager's office on the second floor of 16 Croton Avenue. The businesses, I just want to name all the businesses that are participating in this initiative: Adega Wine, Arcadian Nails, Avon by Cindy, The Boathouse, Bob's Army and Navy, Boost Mobile, Free Pizza, D. Martin's Barbershop, Deli Bagel Cafe, Down to Earth Markets, which is our farmers market, Family Veterinary Care, Health Smart Pharmacy, Highland Cleaners, J.C. Rhodes, John's Grocery, Las Americas, Laurel Sports, Lucy's Pizza, Main Street Deli, Melrose Lumber, Metro Pups, Mike Risco Music, Miller's Cleaners, Mona's Coffee, New Queen Nails, Ossining Bakery, Ossining Family Optometry, Ossining Lawnmower, Ossining Wine and Liquor, Penny and Ting, Prescription Plus, Priscilla's Beauty, Sing Sing Kill Brewery, Theater O, Wall Hours, and Westchester Stationery. So if you've heard of any of your favorite stores on there, please make sure that you do pick up some of those green Ossining Bucks, and you can get $5 off every time you go in to make a purchase or to take advantage of their services. While you're out there buying for your loved ones, consider purchasing a toy for those in need. Toys for Tots boxes can still be found around town, but hurry as they are being collected this week to distribute in time for Christmas. Also, the bakery, the one from Ossining Book New Club will be picked up tomorrow, so please make sure you get your toys into the box. Also, the Baker Collier Christmas Cheer Fund is in full mobilization. Please send donations to Baker Collier Christmas Cheer Fund, care of John Crawford, P.O. Box 508, Ossining, New York 10562, or go to their website, the Baker Collier, that's COLLYER, ChristmasCheerFund.com for more information. Volunteers who are available on the morning of Sunday, December 23rd, should call John Crawford at 914-438-9843 or 914-762-1958 for more information. This Friday, celebrate Make Music Ossining all around the village and town thanks to Mike Risco Music. They have music planned all day long as follows. 9 to 10 a.m. kickoff at Mike Risco Music School. Bagels and jam to start the day. Pick up schedules and meet up with other musicians. 11 to noon, Mike and Miriam Risco are at Atria Briarcliff. 11 to noon, there's live music at Markside and Real Estate. 11:30 to 12:30, Leslie Hochberg and Nancy Lieberman will be at Duncan Keene, Duncan Keene. 12:30 to 1:30, Mike and Miriam Risco will be at the Briars for the Briarcliff Rotary Lunch. 12 to 1 p.m., Amy Hirsch will be at Ossining Recreation. 12:45 to 1:45, Buddy Coughlin at Club Fit. 2 to 3 p.m., Jake and Jules will be at the Ossining Library Friends Corner. 2:30 to 3:30, there will be live music at Good Choice Kitchen. 3:15 to 4, Greg Connors will be at Mooyah at Briarcliff. 4 to 5, Christina Picciano will be at Sing Sing Hill Brewery. 5:15 to 6:15, you can catch Jordan Copeland at Cafe Las Americas. 6:15 to 7:15, Martin and Richard at 6 Degrees. Jordan Copeland comes back at 6:45 to 7:45 at Good Choice Kitchen. 6:30 to 7:30, Adam Love at Orfino's. 6 to 7, Elliot Fisher at the Boathouse. 7:15 to 8, Ed Horan at the Boathouse. And 7 to 9, Jazz at the Elks Lodge. And finally, they'll end with 8 p.m. Winter Solstice Jam at 6 Degrees Brewery. So please take full advantage of all of the fantastic music, and thank you again to Mike Risco Music for providing this wonderful day for everybody to enjoy right before the holidays. We have heard that we may be getting some bad weather towards the end of this week, so specifically look out for lots of rain and possible flooding. Please be careful out there. And I think that is it for my announcements. So we're going to go into our board resolutions, and then we will follow that with our work session.
Purchase of replacement sewer pumps, All Makes Pump and Motor Repair, Inc. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby authorizes the purchase of 13 sewer pumps of various sizes, capacities, and costs to serve as emergency backup pumps for the town's sewer lift stations at the recommendation of the Superintendent of Highways. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign a purchase order for All Makes Pump and Motor Repair, Inc., the Town of Ossining's sole provider of sewer pump maintenance and repair, in the amount of $114,720 for pumps to service the following locations: 1, Boat Club; 2, Crotonville Downhill; 2, Parker Vale; 1, Mystic Point; 1, Whitetail; 1, Fawn Court; 1, Fox Hill; 1, Shine House; 1, Cedar Lane Park; 1, North State Road; and 1, Crotonville S-Turn.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. So this resolution comes to us basically as a recommendation from our our water engineer, Andy Teese, who, after we got into a little bit of a bind recently with 2 of our sewer lift stations that failed within a day or less of each other, we ended up having to spend an awful lot of money to fix the problem. And to avoid having to do that again, he had recommended that we purchase backup pumps to have on the shelf for all of the different types of pumps that we have in throughout our town. And in one case, or 2 cases, 2 pumps, because the pumps that we have at Crotonville Downhill and Parker Vale are very old. So that is why we have this resolution here for this evening, to make sure that we can try to get this done before the end of the year, utilizing fund balance. We were lucky this year that we were able to increase our fund balance because we hadn't collected our IBM sewer charges from 2017, so we had two payments come in this year, and 2016 I think also, right, 2016 and 2017, so those both hit, bringing us about 17,000 into the sewer fund and increasing our sewer fund balance. And also what that meant, with the payment, so with the payment out for what we believe is going to be about $50,000 for the failure of the 2 pumps at Fox Hill, and what it took to get them back online, and how much time we needed from a pump shop. And this, we're going to be spending about $164,000 of our $432,000 in fund balance, plus the additional 72, so that brings us up to about 500. That'll leave us about $341,000, still a very healthy fund balance. This is exactly what we're supposed to be using fund balance for: rainy day problems, and also planning for the future to avoid additional costs like this. And I have our Superintendent of Highways, Michael G. O'Connor, here tonight to address the board if anybody has any questions, or Mr. O'Connor, if you have anything else that you would like to add. Also, it is, I do know that it is Mr. O'Connor's birthday tomorrow, so we wish him a very happy one. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I was trying to duck that.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, Madam Supervisor, I think you covered the point very well. We have 12 sewer lift stations. One of them is a seasonal one. It handles the comfort station near the pavilion up at Cedar Lane Park. Should that thing have any problem, we can always use the sanitary bathrooms that are in the Shine House and merely post a sign and tell people to use that facility should there ever be a problem there. So there's no need to keep extra pumps with that facility. But the other 11, definitely. And the 2 that you mentioned, Crotonville, Downhill, and Parker Vale, one of them will be a spare. The other one is going to replace, as you indicated, a much older pump that we're not going to risk going on us. It's what they are. It's how the town is able to have the population it does. There are a lot of areas in the town that cannot run gravity all the way. The village, fortunately, has only 1 sewer lift station because the village of Ossining is on a hill, and they have a gravity system completely. Gravity is probably half of the unincorporated area, but the other half is made up of all of these sewer lift stations. But some of them are in the parks, so without these, we could not utilize our parks to the extent possible by the public. So that's why they're there, and it's a good improvement. I'm glad that the collective minds that got together and recommended this to the board and to the supervisor, and that we're going forward with it. And on behalf of everybody else, thank you very much. This is a very good, prudent way, as you indicated, to spend our fund balance. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
He actually answered my question why there were 2 in Cedar Park before I asked it, so.
Okay, fantastic. So in that case, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Thank you.
No one's going to lead the song. Am I waiting? No. If you were going to start singing. Right. Appointment of Ossining representative to West Cobb Board of Directors. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby reappoints Joan E. Whitaker to the position of Town of Ossining representative to the Board of Directors of the Westchester Community Opportunities Program, West Cobb, for the 2018-2019 year, retroactive to December 13th, 2018.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
So usually we get a letter from West Cobb in October, and for some reason we didn't. We got a call from them the other day asking us if we would reappoint Joan Whitaker. Joan has done an excellent job representing Ossining on the West Cobb board, and we also heard that she's been actively advocating for the reinstatement of Ossining's local CAP program, and we certainly hope that she's successful in doing that. We're pleased to be able to again nominate Reverend Whitaker as our liaison to West Pop, and we're going to make it retroactive to December 13th because that's when they were supposed to be starting. Any questions? Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Resolution adopting local law number 5 of 2018, amending chapter 130 of the town code to regulate leaf blowers. Whereas the Town of Ossining Town Board is considering the adoption of local law number 5 of 2018, amending chapter 130 of the town code noise to regulate leaf blowers, the proposed action. And whereas this local law is determined to be an exercise of the police powers of the town to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents, and to protect the public from the noise, fuel, and exhaust emissions and dust impacts from leaf blowers. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and several environmental organizations have recognized these impacts, and several municipalities throughout Westchester County and beyond have implemented legislation to regulate the use of leaf blowers. And whereas a public hearing on the proposed local law was duly noticed, opened on July 10th, 2018, adjourned to and continued at many subsequent town board meetings, and members of the public having had the opportunity to be heard, the public hearing was closed on December 11th, 2018. And whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the town board for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday, prior to the adoption of this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the town board hereby adopts and incorporates the recitations and statements set forth above as if fully set forth and resolved herein. 2, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, the town board finds that this proposed action is a type 2 action that does not require further environmental review. Notwithstanding such, because the proposed action is going to regulate the use of leaf blowers, it will be improving environmental conditions and will not have the potential for any significant adverse environmental impacts. 3, the town board, after due deliberation, finds that it is in the best interest of the town to adopt said local law, and the town board hereby adopts local law number 5 of 2018, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. Number 4, the town clerk is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting into the local law book for the town of Ossining, to publish said minutes in a newspaper published in the town, if any, or in such newspaper published in the county in which such town may be located, having a circulation in such town. And affidavits of said publication shall be filed with the town clerk, and to file a copy of said local law with the Secretary of State of New York.
Do I have a motion? So it's very exciting that after much talk and deliberations which we started in July, that we are finally at the end of this conversation, and we think that we've come up with some good compromise for legislation that would regulate the use of specifically gas-powered leaf blowers in the unincorporated town of Ossining. And specifically, the regulations are for the off-season, so the summer season, not during leaf season. There are ways to get around, if need be, for emergencies and other uses, not regular uses of leaf blowers during the off-season, and for that you would apply to the building department to get a special permit to use a gas-powered leaf blower. We think that we've done a good job, again, listening to public input and balancing everybody's input. I think I said that about 3 or 4 times. And without further ado, unless the board has anything else that they want to say about this, anybody want to talk about making statements? All those in favor? Aye.
This is a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry, roll call vote.
Councilwoman Shaw?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dottori?
Aye.
Councilman Wiltshire?
Aye.
Councilwoman Feldman?
Aye.
And Supervisor Levenberg.
Aye. Very exciting, and we're very happy to have this adopted before the end of 2018.
Resolution adopting local law number 6 of 2018, amending chapter 200 of the town code to regulate the installation and use of solar energy generating systems and equipment. Whereas the Town of Ossining Town Board is considering the adoption of local law number 6 of 2018, amending chapter 200 of the town code zoning to regulate the installation and use of solar energy generating systems and equipment, the proposed action. And whereas this local law is determined to be an exercise of the police powers of the town to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents, and also serves an important function of allowing solar energy generating systems within the town with appropriate oversight and limitations. And whereas a public hearing on the proposed local law was duly noticed, opened on August 7th, 2018, adjourned to and continued at many subsequent town board meetings, and members of the public having had the opportunity to be heard, the public hearing was closed on December 11, 2018. And whereas the town board is the only involved agency, and therefore the lead agency for the purposes of conducting the environmental review pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA. And whereas the town board complied with the referral and notice requirements of Section 239 of the New York State General Municipal Law. And whereas, in response to said referral, the Westchester County Planning Board responded by letter dated December 7, 2018, advising that it considered this to be a matter of local determination in accordance with the town's planning and zoning policies. Whereas, said local law has been on the desks of the members of the town board of the town of Ossining for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday, prior to the adoption of this resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. 1. The town board hereby adopts and incorporates the recitation and statements set forth above as if fully set forth and resolved herein. 2. Pursuant to SEQRA, the town board hereby adopts the attached negative declaration for the reasons stated therein, thereby finding that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. 3. The town board, after due deliberation, finds that it is in the best interest of the town to adopt said local law, and the town board hereby adopts local law number 6 of 2018, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. 4. The town clerk is directed to enter said law in the minutes of this meeting into the local law book for the town of Ossining, to publish said minutes in a newspaper published in the town of Ossining, if any, or in such newspaper published in the county in which such town may be located having circulation in such town. And affidavits of said publication shall be filed with the town clerk, and to file a copy of said local law with the Secretary of State of New York.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So once again, I want to thank my board colleagues for their hard work on this. I also would like to thank our council to the town, Christy Tomadonna, for preparing this resolution and also working with our planner, David Stallman. I also did not thank you for drafting the leaf blower legislation, but I do thank you for that as well. And again, I think that we started with a model code from the state, and we received a lot of public input from environmentalists, from developers, and specifically solar developers, and other interested parties along the way, landscapers, with solar. Yeah, and I think that, you know, we did a good job of balancing it. One of the things that I learned when I went to that workshop the other day that was unique that we did was we established for the tier 3 or the solar farms it to be a floating zone, so that the town board would actually have the ability to sort of help determine when there may be too many of these, and there might be only one, and that might be just enough. And there might be none, and that might be just enough. But that we would carefully evaluate any proposals that came before us, so that we could decide if, in fact, the proposal is in keeping with our vision for the town, plan, and all the other things that are guiding documents. So I'm excited that we're making it easier for people to put solar on their rooftops or on their property, and that we do have, and seeing that we have the school district in the audience today, also one of the I think considerations that we had was that this is a use of property that isn't actually going to be adding children to the school district, and it's also not going to be adding additional needs to our infrastructure, tapping or adding traffic to our roads, or requiring water or things of that nature. So I think that we as a board think that it's a good potential for Ossining to consider when it makes sense to do so. And again, in the code, it also says that we will first consider any already cleared areas, already paved areas. So those would be our first areas of consideration before we start cutting down trees. And that's it. Do any of my board colleagues have anything else that they would like to add?
I think we worked well. I think we did a good job working and finding the right solution for us that protects us and allows us to go forward with solar in its own time. Anything else? Okay, with that.
Okay, this is also a roll call vote. Councilwoman Shaw?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dottori?
Aye.
Councilman Wiltshire?
Aye.
Councilwoman Feldman?
Aye.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
Aye. And once again, thank you to the public for your input, and thank you to the board for your help. Let's get this passed. Okay, so I think with that, I will take a motion to adjourn into our town hall meeting.
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we are going to start out, since it's the end of the year, with a few of our accomplishments from 2018. And I'm going to take you down the front. You want to turn around? What do we get? So we will start out with, we have a wonderful. Okay.
Okay. We have a wonderful town board. I can't remember, is our first accomplishment Jackie Shaw? Is she in here?
She's in there.
Okay, she's in here. Okay. We're feeling very blessed to have Jackie Shaw on our board this year, and she's going to come up later, but just looking at our board, we really work very, very well together. We do not always agree. I think we keep each other in check, and we have a lot of great conversations, and I think that we all have different perspectives that we bring to the table and that represent our community. So I'm very grateful for all of you. Wonderful board. Our town tax office, and we have our receiver of taxes here in the audience tonight, Holly Perlowitz. She was also a blessing, and we are so happy that she's had a full year now under her belt, leading the charge of receiving taxes with grace and charm. We had some very interesting issues this year with the notion of setting up a charitable trust so that people could pay their taxes in a different way, which we haven't actually achieved yet, but we have spent an awful lot of time talking. The IRS came out with a ruling, or it wasn't exactly a ruling, but some advice earlier in the year that they were not going to accept deductions that were put into a charitable trust that were going to be used to offset taxes. So not many of us have actually set up these charitable trusts yet. There are a few communities throughout Westchester that have, but that conversation is not over, and we have entered into a collective not exactly a lawsuit, but a collective representation by a law firm that is working to give some advice to the IRS about how many of the towns and municipalities feel, and where they think that the IRS's ruling may not be exactly correct. We also established a slot at the Ossining Post Office where people could easily make sure that their tax bills would go and get delivered directly to the receiver's office. That was pretty exciting. We've had an increase in our communications, adding nearly 300 names to the tax receiver's email list, which is great. And if you aren't on it, please make sure that you do reach out to Ms. Holly Perlowitz, Honorable, because she will make sure that you get all of her updates and reminders. And that's something that can really help you to make sure that you pay your taxes on time and don't have any additional penalties. We did have a challenge this year, which was that for whatever reason, some of the bills that went out through our contractor that does the mailing didn't make it to people's mailboxes. That challenge was overcome with the help of we worked with the post office closely, and they helped us make sure that we got a communication out by mail to everybody so that they received a reminder that they may not have gotten their bill and that they needed to pay it. And we believe that we actually made up for lost time with that and made sure that everybody was able to pay their bills on time who was going to. And that also helped us establish that list more broadly. So that was the silver lining. Also, we've had some wonderful staff development going on in the office, and we did add a part-time Spanish-speaking employee to the office, which has been a huge asset. One of the things that we learned, or a comment that we received when we went out to the public to talk to them about our Project Forward planning initiative for streamlining some government services, was that somebody commented, "I'm mostly completely in the dark about the Austin services. However, I have found that the new tax receiver is a good communicator, and her office does their best to make everyone feel informed." So thank you so much, Ms. Holly Prowitz, tax receiver. Nobody's doing these for me, so I have to do it myself. Assessor's office. Fernando Gonzalez is our assessor for the town. This year is our 3rd year at full value, and we're very proud of that. The 2018 tax roll for the 2019 assessments. Townwide values have been increasing, which is a good thing and a sign of a healthy economy. We're not sure that it's going to continue that way, but right now it has. We had a successful trial from a tax certiorari case that using our in-house counsel, Ben Levitt, and we won, and we think that it's going to be precedent-setting throughout the county to determine how values are determined for some of our affordable housing stock. Also, there has been targeted outreach to seniors from our assessor's office. The state has continued to make things complicated for getting STAR relief for seniors. Now they have decoupled it from the low income exemption or the enhanced STAR. So there are 2 separate applications that you need to make. We want to make sure that everybody does that, but there will be automatic income verification is now mandatory, and it's not something that you can just opt into. You must do it. Also, the assessor's office has been assisting with the homestead study that our board decided to undertake with the Benjamin Center at SUNY New Paltz, and we're looking forward to getting that report early in the year. We were expecting it at the end of the year, but unfortunately, the report that the assessor's office was working on with the State Office of Real Property was not, had some glitches and was not able to be generated in time for the study to be completed by the end of this year. Dale Cemetery, our wonderful and beautiful cemetery run by our superintendent of Dale Cemetery, Pete Connolly, has been thriving. We had over, I think, 85 interments this year, and that went very smoothly. We opened a new section for 80 graves that abut the middle school, Ann Dorner Middle School. We had the dedication of the Heritage Trail with the Austin Historic Cemeteries Conservancy, and some goals that we have for 2019 are to continue working towards rehabilitation of the Superintendent's Cottage, which is a beautiful historic building on the property, where our office, superintendent's office also is. A possible new section, several hundred grave sites, and we're hoping to get some water service to the garage, which we haven't ever had before, and to open up discussion about pet cemetery. So that's something to look forward to in 2019. As for our town parks, our pride and joy, we hired 2 new full-time employees this year, Mark Gallagher and Mike Santiago, in March and November, and by all accounts, they're doing very well and helping move our parks forward faster. We purchased some new equipment, our hook lift truck, which has made our operation more efficient because they're able to actually move everything and hold everything in the hook lift truck as they go. We completed the Gerlach Park Pavilion project, extensive drainage work at Buck Johnson Park off of North State Road, the restoration of the trail at Ryder Park. We refabricated docks at Engle Park Boat Launch and added sections and smaller floats so it was easier for smaller boats to utilize the launch. We added 3, count them, 3 electric vehicle charging stations, each of which can charge 2 vehicles at Ryder Park, Cedar Lane Park, and Lewis Engle Park to incentivize people to purchase electric vehicles and make a difference and an impact in the environment, make it easier for them to charge in Ossining. And that was largely paid for by grant funding from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We also did some mold and asbestos remediation at the Caretaker's Cottage at Ryder Park, and at the Rubin House at Cedar Lane Park. And we're hoping that we will have more work done on those buildings so that we can utilize them more effectively moving forward. And we had the resurfacing of Lewis Ingalls Spray Park paid for by a DASNY grant through Senator David Carlucci's office, so we thank him for that. Our recreation department, we have a new superintendent of recreation started with the village. He also services the town as of April 2018. He brought to Ossining a new software system which allows more online access to our programs, and online registration has gone up from 16 to 48% online, which is what it was before we implemented the new software, so we're very excited about that. And in January, we're going to go live with the permit system for parks and pavilion reservations online, and we're making it easier for people to not have to come and stand in a long line to get what they would like to use out of our parks and recreation programs. We're grateful for that. Also, our Cedar Lane Art Center continues to be offer wonderful art programs and ceramics, as well as other art for all ages. And we also have a wonderful space there that you can rent. So if you haven't already been out there, it's right on the pond and it's beautiful. And we had one event there this year. We have another coming up at the end of the year, and then we will look to rent it, to continue to rent it throughout 2019 and beyond. Our town highway department saw the retirement of two 30-plus year employees in January 2018. Those lovely gentlemen, Rick Clemente and Johnny Martin, who was our acting foreman. And that was a hard hit, but Mateo Velardo stepped up to the plate, and he's our current foreman and will be so until March 2019. He not that recently, announced his retirement, so we are now in the process of looking for our next foreman to step up. But all of our new employees have been doing a wonderful job, and one was a transfer, now I'm forgetting, Juan, and the other was, and that's Juan Toribio, sorry, and the other is Vittorio Solo, who is our new employee in the highway department. We purchased a new Freightliner, which is, again, has been very effective for the highway department to get the work done, and a wonderful new street sweeper, which Kevin Moore, who's pictured there in the orange shirt, runs, and it's been also doing a great job. And we had a reclamation project at Hawks Avenue where we reclaimed and repaved the road, and we hope that it will last for many, many years to come, and it's nice and smooth, and we will be looking into striping it in the spring. We also partnered through Sustainable Westchester to purchase a very inexpensively recollect software to be implemented in 2019, so look for more information about that to make it easier to know when your garbage and recycling is going to be picked up. You can even get the app on your phone. More information soon. Our senior nutrition program, we had a new full-time chauffeur added in 2018, and we have new Tai Chi classes for seniors from a lovely local person who is volunteering to do that. They have become the go-to experts on peer place reporting software in the senior department, and now which is utilized by Westchester County, and so everybody goes to Ossining now to find out how to use that, and including the state when they know that they're going to be audited. Several new vehicles are scheduled to be purchased in 2019, including a new transit van, a bus, and with our fingers crossed, we will get a CDBG grant allocation to purchase an electric van. We also have a project request for 2020 through the Community Development Block Grants. That's through the county, it's federal money to remodel the Senior Nutrition Kitchen in Ossining Community Center, and that's in partnership with the work that the village is planning to do if they get their community development grant to make their fixes at the community center as well. And good news is that we had a successful request for proposals, a second one out, for catering and food services for the senior program for 2019 at a slightly better rate than 2018. We're actually continuing with the same vendor, Hubbard's Cupboard, but we are hopeful that they will be even better moving forward with the new contract. Our town clerk, we had a new interim clerk as of July 2018 who stepped in while our town clerk, Marianne Roberts, has been out on extended leave. We have since added a FOIL tracking software program, which is making it easier for people to process their freedom of information requests for whatever comes through, whatever they can get through the clerk's office. Working closely with Lorraine Hill from New York State Archives. We're hoping to improve our records retention policies throughout the town and village, and we are planning for a record retention grant with the Village of Ossining to apply for that in January of 2019, which will help us, again, find ways to more safely store our records. We're also hoping to, we recently surplused 45 of our old lever voting machines, 4 of which we surplused and are going to be giving to the Ossining Fire Department. We have to do that. That's in the resolution we're going to be adding very soon. And we are also one of the only communities around to have I voted stickers on election day, and we're very proud of that. People love those. Our police department that we contracted with the Village of Ossining for police services helped us out this year with our ID badges for town staff. Those will be coming out very soon. Also, they were very excited to hold their annual charity softball game at Gerlach Park because it was all rehabbed and they had a great time there. They had their second successful PBA 5K at Cedar Lane Park. Again, taking good advantage of all that we have to offer in the town. And Chief Sylvester won the 40 Under 40 award from was that Westchester Business Council, I believe? Westchester Business Council, and that was pretty darn impressive. And we are hoping to adopt our new 4-year contract for police services for 2019 to 2022 at our next meeting. Our town building department has been working to streamline processes for building permits in the town, and we think that we have a very friendly and accessible process. Planning board projects that have been picking up speed are the Artist Senior Living Project on North State Road and Parth Knowles Apartments on Hawks Avenue. And if you drive down, you'll see all the work that they're doing. I don't believe that we anticipate any of these projects coming online for at least a year plus. Also, our total building department fees that were collected based on some changes in our fee schedule were $274,792 this year, as compared to $105,000 and change in 2017, and $67,000 in 2016. So that's great news. And we had some successful grant applications, the first one of which I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting in my announcements, the $100,000 grant through New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the Climate Smart Communities grant and a master plan with sustainability elements. And also, we received another grant for a townwide tree inventory through the Urban Forestry Grant Program for $50,000. So that will be taking place in the spring, most likely. And our spray pad got a lovely upgrade, as mentioned when we were talking about our parks accomplishments. As you can see, it's really colorful and beautiful, and that was through a grant through DASNY that came through Senator David Carlucci for $100,000. And we actually got the money for that very recently. Well, we didn't get the money for it, but we got the grant disbursement agreement, which is like getting the money. And as mentioned, as far as town-wide accomplishments, we have a new town councilwoman, Jackie Shaw, receiver of taxes, Holly Perlowitz, a new town historian, Scott Craven, who actually works here at the library during the day, and at night he takes off his cape, he puts on his cape, and he's a town historian. Actually, he's the town historian all day long. And then we are in year 3 of Mind, Body, Spirit Ossining, and had lots of good participation this spring, summer, and fall, utilizing our parks for our local businesses to showcase their wonderful programs and to show people how they can use our outdoor spaces, parks, and public places to be fit and healthy and have a clear mind and conscience. Continuing for our townwide accomplishments, we expanded safety training for our highway, parks, and cemetery employees, and we're very proud of that. And thank you to Madeline Zahach for overseeing all of that safety training. Green Ossining held their 8th annual Earth Day celebration, and our own Susie Ross, who chairs the Green Ossining Committee, was honored by Volunteer New York and Con Edison with the Going Green Award. We also completed a project with the village of Briarcliff Manor at 9A North State Road with the help of the state and the county for hopefully a much improved intersection. Hopefully you guys all agree. I'm sure you pass that way all the time. We also had another Arbor Day celebration, this time utilizing the information that we received from our urban forestry grant about which type of tree to plant and where. And we did plant a tree at Engle Park, which we are hoping to bring back to life this spring. And submitted 4 CDBG or Community Development Block Grant applications for 2019 through 2021. Also, Organ Donor Enrollment Day, we had many enrollees, and again, since we have the school district here this evening, we thank them for their partnership in that effort. We also partnered with Sing Sing this year, and we think we did really well there, and we're always grateful for all of our community partners in these initiatives, including the Village of Ossining. Also, we've been partnering with the Ossining School District on the Ossining Basics Initiative. Last week, I took everybody through the Ossining Basics. I hope you remember them, the 5 basics, which you can count on one hand. And I'm not going to repeat them because I did them all last week, but we're also partnering with the school district and other stakeholders on My Brother's Keeper to make sure that our young men of color have equitable opportunities to achieve their success just as everybody else does. There's that we want to make sure that those opportunities are available for everybody in our midst. And we also, coming up, you will be seeing our CGI video series that highlights some of the wonderful assets that we have in the town. We were awarded a CFA grant for, I think we already talked about that, Comprehensive Plan and Sustainability Elements. We are researching the addition of more electric vehicles to add to our town fleet, and we also hosted a Lime Bike pop-up or pilot program here in Town and Village of Ossining for Car Free Day, which we participated in this year, and that was wonderful. And we had a haunted hayride at Cedar Lane Park this year. We utilized that garage there that we talked about, that we fixed up, and that was wonderful and was very, very, very spooky. And I highly recommend you, if you missed it this year, you make it next year, right around Halloween, don't miss it. We have a new power purchase agreement through Westchester Power, our community choice aggregation program, with better rates for our commercial businesses, and also continuing good rates for our residential, for our homeowners. And our 2019 budget is tax cap compliant with many rate reductions due to our increased value that's come on with the new role. And for a new 4-year contract with our auditors, that's very favorable for us. Continued involvement with all of our regional organizations, including Westchester Municipal Officials Association, Historic Hudson Rivertown, Sing Sing Prison Museum Project, Westchester Municipal Planning Federation, Sustainable Westchester, and the Energy Improvement Corporation. We talked a little bit about Project Forward on January 17th. We're going to have another opportunity for the public to weigh in and give us their input about finding ways to streamline services. Specifically, we're evaluating the possibility of getting rid of some elected offices that are not policy-setting positions, such as the elected office of receiver of taxes, town clerk, and highway superintendent. So we hope to hear from everybody, your opinions about that, as well as anything else that you'd like to talk to us about. We've had wonderful weekly updates at the end of every week where we share information and promote our local businesses and organizations, and we're going to continue to do that next year. And we adopted 6 local laws this year, including 2 this evening, including PACE financing amendments for PACE 2.0, the Cold War Veterans Exemption, which was something that the state had asked municipalities to adopt, electric car charging, leaf blowers, accessory apartments, and solar energy. So we're very excited about all that good work that we did. And We did also adopt a resolution in support of driver's licenses for all, even undocumented immigrants, to make our roads safer, and we're going to continue to support that, and we hope that the state will be able to adopt that legislation. So, is there anything else? That's it. Thank you guys all so much for all of your support. I think that there are a lot of wonderful things that we continue to do here in the town, and we have an awful lot to be proud of, and of course, we're not done. We're never done. So we've got lots more to do next year. And with that, I'm going to ask our Councilwoman Jackie Shaw to introduce our next item on the agenda. Let me just close. Can I close this? Yes. Okay. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to open that. Can I maximize it? Slideshow. Okay. And then I think that. Thanks, everybody.
Good evening. I'm very happy to discuss this next presentation. The Equity Task Force initiative by the Ossining School District, and how I got involved is that an email was sent out to parents asking if you wanted to apply to the Equity Task Force, and what they were talking about are things like their inequities in the school district, in the buildings, in the curriculum, and they wanted to get community members, teachers, administrators together to discuss this and figure out how we can change that and create a more inclusive school environment so that every child can achieve their best in their own truth. And so we have the school district here today and members of the Equity Task Force, Dr. Sanchez, Melissa, Mickey, come on up. Take it away. Do you want to be up here, down there?
I guess we can do it from right here, if that's okay. So before, just some follow-up, but before we get going into the PowerPoint presentation, I just want to, it was an impressive 2018, so I want to congratulate the town for all your accomplishments and everything you do for the town, and clearly our partnership with the school district as well, and look forward to a great 2019. With that, I want to thank Jackie and the town for the opportunity to present here alongside with Melissa Banta and Mickey Weiss, who are members of our Equity Task Force. There are a number of individuals that participate, from students to community members, individuals that have students in the district, individuals that do not have students in the district. But ultimately, our focus has been trying to ensure excellence for all students through equity. And so we want to share a little bit of our story, where we are at this point, and also, knowing that, our true success is really our collaboration and how you can support our work, like our My Brother's Keeper. Okay, so just to give you a sense, I thought it was important, and I've shared this before in various other presentations, but when we talk about, and this kind of centers around our why, that basically generally shares where we are as a school district and kind of gives you a 10-year look back at how our district has evolved in that period of time, from back in 2007-8 to where we are in 2018. And I just kind of go through line by line, showing how, first of all, the growth that we've seen, and we've talked about that at length, and at the same time, just how our demographics have shifted in that period, in that short period of time. It seems like a long time, but it really goes very quickly. And also, on the bottom line, that free and reduced lunch component, which really kind of notes poverty that exists within our community. And the truth is that all of this kind of speaks to the fact that how we did things in 2007-8 is we have to shift a little bit our work in 2018 as a result of that. Although this has been a district historically that has really focused around equity, and a community that has as well. And I'm going to turn it over to Mickey Weiss, who's going to talk a little bit about our history.
Evening. I can't talk about the history of Ossining, but I could, for a minute, just tell you the history of this work. And did everybody see that? and I can't do Lin-Manuel. But in 1979, the most important thing happened, I think, and it's a good indication of the district's commitment to addressing problems in a positive way. And so I guess everybody knows about the Ossining Plan and the schools being desegregated by doing away with neighborhood schools and bringing all the students, all the children in town into the same buildings throughout their school careers. And everybody's always been proud of that, and everybody says I moved to Ossining because of the diversity. So, but it took a while for more work to happen. And in 2002, the school district created the Superintendent's Advisory Committee on the Achievement Gap in recognition of the differences amongst students of color and Caucasian students in levels of achievement. It was a pretty thorough report and had lots of ideas for things that needed to be done and ways to address things, but some things happen, not so much. And then continuation of that work was a study done in 2007 by NYU to further again study what the inequities were, where they came from, talking about achievement, talking about curriculum, talking about inclusion in all kinds of ways. So a nice history of doing this work, bringing us to this most recent incarnation, and in my experience, the incredibly solid work that's being done that was initiated by the school district. The work has been thoughtful, well-planned, urgent, but understanding that process is important, bringing people into the understanding of what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. The rest of the presentation, you'll hear more about what this process has entailed, but it's an exciting process, and I encourage the town to find ways to be involved with this and to certainly be knowledgeable about what's going on.
So, having said that, the first step in approaching equity is defining equity. And to define equity, a lot of times we find that it's sometimes confused with equality, which by definition is everyone receives the same resources based on the belief that equal means fair and everyone will benefit from the same supports. However, equity itself, as pictured here, is everyone receives what they need in order to have the opportunity to be successful. And depending on your circumstances, it may differ what you need from the person next to you. So that's the difference between equality and equity, which sometimes is often confused and is usually the first step that we find we have to divulge with people to have them understand exactly where the starting point is in this work. So, as a result of equity, you receive justice, which is the tearing down of the structures that privilege one group over another, the act of disrupting and dismantling systems of oppression. So that's what's necessary, and that's the result of achieving true equity, because if there's systems in place already that are creating the inequities, then the only way to truly tackle it and to keep history from repeating itself, as we saw on the other slide, is to completely dismantle the inequitable system that exists. So having said that, in terms of educational equity, it would mean that each student has what he or she needs to define and experience their own success, experience joy in learning every day, and see themselves reflected in the content of their learning, as well as the educators who serve them. It provides a climate in school that attends to race, ethnicity, language, culture, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, religion, ability, and socioeconomic status. One profound video that we unpacked our very first day of our very first committee meeting with the Equity Committee is a TED Talk by novelist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which we don't have here for you today, but I encourage you on your own time to maybe look it up and watch it. It's very profound. She speaks about the dangers of a single story, and a lot of times those are the very barriers that exist to achieving equity. So a single story, as quoted here, the problem is that stereotypes, and not that they aren't true, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. In her talk, she provided some examples of circumstances in her own life in which she was on both the receiving end of being part of a single story, and also herself making those assumptions about others. And so in our meeting and everywhere that we basically present this, it's key to ask yourself, what are your stories? What is important to know more than, why is it important to know more than one story? And so when you ask yourself that, it kind of helps you unpack your own possibly biases, or ones that might have even been projected upon you at some point, and it helps you understand this work and why it's very necessary, and how it really does affect everyone, not just one group of people. So the essential question, once you establish what equity is and what it looks like, is how can I disrupt and dismantle the existence of inequity within my sphere of influence? And that's the question that was asked of us as a committee, and that we asked other individuals that are game to help us with this initiative. So when you look within your sphere of influence, it could be co-workers, it could be family members, it could be at a social gathering. We all have a sphere of influence in which we may witness or ourselves be privy to inequities, and it's key to ask yourself how you can contribute to the process of dismantling systems that create the inequities around you. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ray. Thank you.
Rehearsals. You're doing an excellent job. So there are a number of recommendations. So basically what's going on at this point. We started and established, it's important to note that the committee started about 3 years ago. We're in the 3rd year of that process. And since then, we've established the district-wide committee continues to meet periodically to see where the work is going, talk about how we can contribute to supporting the recommendations and our efforts to support equity across our system. We have now established building equity, so now we've brought it to our building levels. So now each of the committees, each of the buildings have equity committees that meet to talk about how they can impact and how they can have influence within the context of their schools, and also start establishing some professional development so that there's ownership at the building level. And also, very excitingly, we know the impact of students and their involvement. They're involved at the district level, and they're involved we have student equity teams at the middle school and at the high school. And just to give you some sense, last year our middle school students led a teach-in, which was basically a professional development for our entire middle school staff around equity. They gave them case studies and worked with our teachers to kind of unpack what those look like. And these are basically authentic experiences that they had while in school, and to engage and learn together. And similarly, we hope to roll that out more so at the high school level this coming year. And then there's a variety of study groups. I think what's happened as a result of all this is that our staff and others have started to gather together to really meet and talk and engage in discussions around equity and read literature and learn together. And we've expanded this even more recently beyond just our teaching staff, both teaching and teaching assistants. We've gone through a whole round of providing professional development and learning sessions for our buildings and ground staff, a lot of our clerical staff. So it really is a district-wide effort. It's not solely just because we all have, as Melissa mentioned before, is that we all have a sphere of influence. We all have an impact, we have to interact with families, and we want to make sure that everyone has gone through levels of systematic training so it won't end. And this is basically our work. The committee in the end really looked and established 5 said recommendations. They're lofty in terms of they're comprehensive, and there's a lot under each of the recommendations to consider. First, for example, is developing a climate consciousness that attends to the varied and unheard lived experience of our students, families, teachers, staff, and administrators. To give you a sense, in this case, we do, just as part of this, we actually conduct now student climate surveys. So we ask our high school students the past 2 years what their experiences, their level of school connectedness, their relationships with adults, and it's really kind of it's actually been telling us a lot of information of work that we need to do and how it relates back to 2007 when Pedro Noguera was involved. And we actually just recently administered a similar assessment with, or survey with our middle school students. And those are elements that we hope, lift and start bringing about some systematic change. Our communication, equitable communication, the way we communicate with our families and the way we communicate with our community has to be equitable, and we want to look at that and make sure that that's meeting the needs of everyone. Striving for representative or looking at our curriculum, that's a real key and important piece. Strategically having data systems that really delve deeper into our student performance and disaggregating all that information, but have timely, systematic looks across an entire district. And we've already started building systems around that, or what we refer to as a dashboard around that recently. And then finally, I made reference to this before, is providing professional development. And I think throughout that, embedded in all of this, I think what's really important is that all of this has to be systematic work. So what we want to do is create, as a committee, district-wide effort is that this should create a system. So no matter who's on the committee, who's the superintendent, who's on the board of education, who are the building principals, that there is a system that this is the way we do things. No matter who comes in, it's just a new person that comes in and fits into the work that's taking place, so that it's sustained over time and we don't find ourselves repeating history as 10 years from now. And so we'll pause and thank you, and at the same time pause for questions as well, unless my colleagues have some other comments they want to add to. Okay.
This one I'm going. Why, thank you so much. That is incredible. Really tremendously exciting. Having been part of the school district and having my children go through the school district and being involved in some higher level decision making at the school district, I think that it is fantastic. All of the different elements that you talked about that the Equity Task Force has come up with in terms of plans sound like something that really can make a huge difference, I think, in our school district. So obviously only time will tell. And as you mentioned, Melissa, I think, somebody mentioned it's not going to happen overnight. We know that, but there's expectations that we start seeing progress quickly. And I think it's really exciting that there's momentum to keep the initiative going in every building, so that you know that it's not going away just because somebody moves on. Whether it's somebody at the school, again, leadership level, or and it's just wonderfully exciting. So thank you so much for that presentation. And you did mention that you'd hope that the town would be involved, and obviously having our councilwoman Jackie Shaw be a member of the Equity Task Force is a great way, and she's why you are here tonight. And we're proud that we're able to share all the accomplishments of the task force to date with our audience at home that might be different from your audience at home. So thank you for that. It's a great presentation. And I will now pass this around to my board colleagues to see if anybody has anything to ask or add.
As somebody who was part of the earlier first desegregation and process, I really am impressed with how far it's come and the strides that you're taking to really bring it much further and make a real difference. I think that's great. I remember when the schools got mixed, it was a great experience for me and my family. And I'm just excited to see that we're continuing to move in a great direction. And thank you for your work, all of you.
Hello, board. I guess you the board. Okay. But I just want to tell you, it is it's nice to see the direction that we're going. Because I had 4 children come through the Southland Public School, and I had 4 grandchildren, and I have 9 grands scattered all over the country. They're not here, but I think I was glad to see when you said you were doing this for the future, so that we all know that we're not going to be here forever. So whoever comes along, they have a guideline, and hopefully they follow it. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Also, my children have gone through the Ossining School District. And Mickey, I think when you said that everybody says that they move here because of the district, because of the diversity, we all know that that's true. But we also know that we don't live in a perfect world. And it's always good to know that there's a proactive agenda where people are really working to address issues of inequity in a positive way, to really dispel the notion that if you have a diverse school, if you have a school that leans towards lower income children, that by default it's not going to be a good school. I think we repeatedly show that that just doesn't have to be the case, and it is certainly not the case in Ossining. So thank you so much.
Thank you again for coming. We've been working, as Ray said, it's our 3rd year, it's hard to believe. It's a group of over 20 people, administrators, community people, and it's a large group of us. And I've been amazed with the commitment that everyone keeps coming back year after year, and everyone is very committed. I mean, in the beginning, we had like 6-hour meetings, and people were there for every meeting, every month. So there's definitely a commitment, and I applaud you all for your commitment, and it's been a wonderful process getting to know all of you and being a part of it, so thank you very much.
Is there anything else you want to add? If not, thank you so much for coming and waiting to hear all our accomplishments, and now hopefully we will continue to be able to partner with you, and we can add this to our list in the very near future when we see successes from all of our students achieving what they want to and where their dreams will take them. So thanks again.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. With that, might I have a motion to go into executive session for advice of counsel?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So, as a reminder, town offices will be closed at 12 noon on Monday, December 24th for Christmas Eve, and all day on the 25th for Christmas. The morning of the 24th at 9 a.m., we are planning a short special meeting to approve vouchers and the police contract with the Village of Ossining. We will also be closed on New Year's Eve at 12 noon, then all day New Year's Day. And please join us as we swear in newly elected officials, including our own town councilwoman, Jackie Shaw, at the Recreation Center starting at 12 noon on New Year's Day. The town will skip the work session in the first week of the year, but we'll be back with you at our reorganizational meeting on January 8th at the courthouse. We wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy 2019. Good night, everybody.